Yo, sup guys, Doom here. I just wanted to showcase how powerful the Wraithlord is on its own. Here you can see I'm using the popular single Archmage build. The damage is not too bad with its Dreadbolt skill, but no crazy numbers yet. Normally, you convert the Archmage to cold and use the popular Lich's Scorn catalyst later on. I have not done that yet in this case, so the mage is using its Dreadbolt, which is necrotic damage. Now you can see I'm summoning Wraiths, and I allocated the node that allows Skelly mages to use the new Profane Oblation skill, which is a skill that explodes the Wraiths to deal quite a bit more damage compared to the Dreadbolt they use. You can see there's quite a significant leap in damage. Now, I don't know what the hell they injected the Wraithlord with, but his damage is way higher. The good thing is that all of these abilities scale the same way, meaning I don't have to change anything in my skill tree or passive tree, except for putting on the helmet when I want to use the Wraithlord, so we can get a pretty good baseline for damage numbers. Originally, I was looking to make a build where my skeleton mage would explode the wraiths summoned by the Wraithlord with Profane Oblation. I ran into an issue however. Even though the helmet states it will only consume other minions when it has the maximum number of wraiths out, it instantly consumed my skeleton mage, even when it had 0 wraiths summoned. The Profane Oblation build still performed okay when self-casting wraiths. Mana regeneration was very much needed however. So why does the Wraithlord have so much damage? There's a couple of reasons. The Wraithlord has an innate 89% more damage multiplier, whereas the Skeleton Mage has an innate 14% less damage multiplier. The necrotic beams the Wraithlord uses have 70 base damage and 350% added damage effectiveness, which is the same values as Profane Oblation. For comparison purposes, the Dreadbolt from the Skeleton Mage only has 30 base damage and 150% effectiveness. The 350% added damage effectiveness means sources of added flat damage, such as plus spell damage, is multiplied by 3.5 before applying to the skill, making sources of flat added damage quite powerful. The other reasons are passive trees. The Skeletal Mage tree is just not as powerful as the Wraith tree. It does have a big 130% more damage multiplier from the Archmage node and some flat added damage. The Wraith, however, has way more going for it. It does have flat added damage as well, but has significantly more damage multipliers. Necrotic Hunger grants 60% more damage, and Sequel of Avarice, which is behind the Twin Spirits node, grants a whopping 180% more damage. Another thing to note is that in the showcases of damage, I did not have the node Doomed Wrath allocated, which provides another 45% more damage to the Wraithlord. This does mean, however, that the Wraithlord will be inflicted with Everlasting Poison, as this takes priority over the Lone Watcher node. You probably want to take the Doomed Wrath node anyway, because 45% more damage is a truckload. So what do we need to make this build work? Well, first off, we'll need the helmet, of course. Second, we need to allocate Twin Spirits. Reason being, the Wraithlord will keep spawning wraiths until at its maximum, and only then will it start using its necrotic spell. And then you can also get Sequel of Avarice right after, which is the biggest damage increase by far. Then we take Infernal Shade, which just grants a giant amount of cast speed. I only use Infernal Shade on like harder content when there's like bosses or something to increase DPS. I don't really need it on clearing. Yeah. Then you grab a generic Bone Armor, Transplant, so huge defensive layer. Give it a kill threshold so we can kill enemies when they're below 15%. And then the fifth skill, I still have my Skeletal Mage. I'm not sure what I'm gonna change for this one yet. Maybe Bonkers, maybe Ribblood, don't know yet. Alright, so let's go over my gear. I will note that my gear is absolute butt crack. It is not strong at all. It could use a lot of updates. For example, I think a Death Rattle would be ideal instead of just this random amulet. I have a decent staff with 2 flat spell damage modifiers. I think ideally it would be better to get a Bone Scythe, which has implicit minion necrotic penetration, with another suffix that has minion necrotic penetration, so you would sacrifice one of the spell damages. When it comes to idols, you want to make sure you have at least 1 Mark for Death idol. Probably 2 would be better. I think you just want to stack as much health as you can get. I do have a lot of minion necrotic damage here, but that's all just increased damage, which are just not big benefits. I think just going for tankiness is the play here. I do have some resistances here, so you could fix some of your resistances with them. It's up to you. Next up is the chest and the boots. You generally just want defenses here. The increased minion necrotic damage is kind of nice. The traversal modifier is pretty nice. Minions teleported around you after you use a traversal skill. So when you use transplant, the Wraithlord will travel with you, which is pretty nice. Good for AI, good for targeting. You could go for the ward low life setup where you get a Exsanguinous chest and Last Steps of the Living. Not sure if that's worth it because you don't have a catalyst for that extra ward. Don't know. Next up are the turquoise rings. The most important thing here being the minion critical strike multiplier. That's by far the biggest increase to damage the Wraithlord will receive from rings. The increased minion damage is nice, but not necessary. Focus on your resistances, focus on health, maybe some health for your minions. Same goes for the other ring and for the belt. I like this belt because it has innate poison resistance, innate cold resistance. If you were going the ward option, you'd probably go for the ward retention belt, the new one. Same thing for the relic pretty much. Focus on your resistances, maybe some minion damage. Then for the gloves, you'd ideally want to get Jorah's Obsession with flat spell damage, as high as you can get. That's a pretty big increase. If you can get it with cast speed in addition. Cast speed is pretty important because I forgot to mention the Wraithlord does have a 20% less cast speed modifier innately. So yeah. When it comes to the passive tree, I have a pretty offensive setup right now. I'm probably going to swap some to grant more minion life, more survivability for myself. Yeah, it's pretty generic. Focus on getting cast speed as much as you can. Pretty important. Then for the Necromancer tree, same thing here. Pretty offensive still. I'm probably going to swap some of these increased nodes to life. Do max this one out if you can. Cast speed is really important. Same with here, more cast speed. Then I maxed out this one because I really like having the critical strike damage leech as high as I can. Make sure you max this one as well for the flat necrotic damage, very important. Then this one is pretty nice because it grants you with resistances, which I really like. And then this one gives you a lot of critical strike multiplier, which is very important. Yeah, pretty much it.